Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Good in Motion podcast. Today, I'm excited to welcome Jodi Tingling. Jodi is a licensed therapist in Ontario, a career counselor, and she's the founder of Creating New Steps. Through her 4-step career framework, she helps people who feel burnt out or stuck find work that truly fits them. Hundreds have already made the shift. With more than 10 years of experience, she also guides teams that want to turn a burnout culture into a healthy, engaged workplace. Jodi believes that when you get intentional about your life, that's when everything starts to shift. I'm excited to learn more about how she makes that happen. Jodi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on your show, Juliet. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy too. It turned from meeting at an event to keeping in touch through
Yeah.
LinkedIn and this interview later on. So I'm happy this happened.
I'm happy this happened too. And I often tell my clients about the power of networking and just getting yourself out there. You never know who you're going to meet, and you never know what podcast you'll be on next as well, too.
Absolutely. Let's jump back in with this question. What happens that made you want to combine therapy with career design? Because when I met you, you introduced yourself and what you do. It was a completely new idea to me.
A lot of people don't know this, but I started out my career, my very first professional career after I finished school, my bachelor's degree was to be an employment consultant. So I worked at a charity and helping people with their employability skills. So helping people with like their resumes and their interview skills, things like networking, and offering workshops to folks to really help them to land their next role. So I started out like that in my career. And then, I've had many pivots as well. Of course, I went to school to get my Master of Social Work degree because I knew I was meant to do so much more. And I knew with that degree that it would open up the options for me. And so I've done a lot of clinical work with clients as well, too, including really helping them manage stress, depression, anxiety. I was a part of the COVID-19 mental health response team when that came out. And so helping people with various levels of distress that they were experiencing during the pandemic. And one thing I really noticed is that, people, one, were really struggling, and two, people were struggling within their career, right? And so I know that I've had many moments when I was also struggling in my career. And for me, it was getting the targeted help and support that helped me to take those next steps. So for me, I really wanted to help other people to be able to navigate their careers in that domain as well too. So it's really taking, psychotherapy practices and merging it with career development. That's really sort of like the sweet spot for me. And I think, many people don't really know this, but like you can engage a therapist on various specialties, right? And so just like, you can seek out a therapy for like trauma therapy, you can seek out a couples therapist, you can seek out a therapist to help you manage ADHD. You can also seek out a therapist to help you with career clarity. And that is exactly what I do. And I love it. It's so impactful. And just witnessing the transformation that my clients go through from first meeting me and really not knowing their next steps in their career, being really cloudy. I might meet some people with various levels of burnout as well too, to when they walk through my program together and they are taking the next steps in their career. They are crystal clear on the next steps, and it's such an impactful journey to witness because honestly, most people want to have a career that they are proud of. They want to have a career where they feel fulfillment and alignment. And so, we spend the majority of our times in our jobs, in our careers. Why not make it purposeful and aligned to, where folks want to go next? And so That's sort of the long story in terms of how I really help people and why I got into this field and really niched down into helping to support people in their careers and really knowing that this is really needed, especially during this time frame. It just feels like people are just going through a lot, and just because you ended up in one career pathway doesn't mean you have to stay in that career pathway. So if your career pathway is not feeling aligned anymore, it's a real great opportunity to explore why.
Yeah, and when we met, I particularly connected with the services you were offering because I was,
Yeah.
and I would say I am still going through a career change myself,
Okay.
which is moving from working as a graphic designer to starting my show, my podcast. And so I really resonated with your mission. Going back to what you said about the pandemic, I feel that a lot of people had a big shift happened during the pandemic. It's been a wake up call for many people who changed their jobs and careers, reinvented themselves. I'm curious because you said it happened to you as well. Did you have someone to help you go through this change for yourself?
Oh, 100%. I had my own career therapist as well too. So I purposefully sought out a therapist that specialized in career development, career counseling as well too. And that's how I really found out that there was a niche for this, right? So there was a period of time in my life where I was in between jobs, just kind of feeling like I was kind of going through the motions pretty aimlessly, and that's when I noticed, okay, I need support at this point in time. And I wanted to seek out a therapist, but a therapist where we can kind of talk about careers and specializes in careers. And so that's exactly what I did. And I know firsthand the benefits of that. And so that's why I really like to help people and help them really navigate the next steps of their careers, because you have to be really intentional about the next steps that you take. Otherwise, you're just going to be sort of hopping from one thing to another, and it's just not going to be satisfying. So, yes, I definitely had my own support. Therapists have their own therapists as well too. And if they don't, then yeah, that is something to also question. We all need support.
Something that sticked with me from our the last time we chatted is that you said you work with a business coach as well. So I'm
Yes.
curious to know what resources or which experts have you worked with to help you build your business.
Yeah, I've worked with quite a few, I would say. I think the very first business coaches that I worked with was through Business Advisory Center Durham. So,
Okay.
when I was thinking about starting my own business, that's where I first originally landed. So, a lot of people don't know this, and I share this with my clients as well too, but anybody that is really thinking about going the route of entrepreneurship or starting your own business, I always tell them to seek out your local business development center. Ontario has city specific business development centers. And so for me, because I'm in the Durham region, it's BACD, so Business Advisory Center Durham. And they were really helpful in helping me get started. So I had like one on one sessions with them, I joined their workshops. They also had a small business grant as well too, that, if you need a bit of extra funding to get started, that's something that can be super helpful for folks. So I tell folks to really just start out at your local business development center, and honestly, just pop it in Google, local business development center or business development center plus your city name, and get started there, because that can be quite helpful. And they do also have a variety of referral partners that can help support your business needs as well too.
This is very helpful, and I might consider it myself. It sometimes it seems logic, and we just don't do it. But I can see how it has been beneficial for you. How long have you been in business for?
I would say I'm going to say around 6 years now.
Okay, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. And it's kind of been sort of like a up and down sort of thing. I think most business owners can kind of attest to that as well too, because most businesses don't get successful overnight. It's quite a journey and it's quite a process to kind of go through to even just figure out, like, one, what it is that you want to do. Two, do you have a niche that you are working with? And then three, how you can get the right supports to support you in developing and growing your business. So it is a bit of a journey, but for me, it's definitely been a worthwhile journey to help to support people on the domain that I do.
Have you ever thought about giving up during those 6 years?
Oh, yes, a million times. A million times. But you know what? I always get centered and grounded back into my why. I have to get grounded back into my why, and my why is being able to help people in their transformative process, helping people on their growth journey, helping people live in alignment into where it is they want to be. That is the thing that truly fulfills me, and I know that my framework works. I've seen it hands on, and I just want to be able to impact more people. And so, when I'm kind of feeling like, okay, I'm ready to give up, I go back to my why. I go back to my why and I go back to the results I've been able to offer for the clients that I've seen and the organizations that I've worked with as well too. So, always going back to the why has been super helpful.
First, I'm so glad that you talk about your why. Was your why always clear from the beginning, or did it morph and maybe it was refined over time?
It's definitely morphed and refined over time. For myself, I think one, kind of noticing how most workplaces operate and feeling like I wasn't necessarily in alignment with some of the organizations that I have worked with. I'm somebody that's like really big on advocacy and making sure that people, have like equitable and fair treatment. And so I was seeing a lack of that sort of in the corporate space, and that was really frustrating for me. And so, one, that kind of reinforced my why towards entrepreneurship. And two, again, just going back to that need to help others and help impact others. And so, my number one need was to also align my career path with my values at the same time. And then two, it was being able to provide an impact for people. I think when I first started out, I still had questions around what was the impact that I wanted to create. And so it took me a while to get there. I know that, obviously as a therapist, I operate on more of like a helping domain. But what of like what I wanted to help people with wasn't clear in the earlier days. Now I'm crystal clear on what it is that I do and what I help people with. And honestly, it's great because I am also able to model for clients what I want to see them doing as well too. So the same behaviors that I'm engaged in, I want them to engage in as well too, in terms of that piece of like going after what it is that you want in your life and aligning your career path to your values.
And I think that your clients really appreciate that you went through the journey yourself and you're
Yes.
able to, from a place of having been there, share your own experience.
Yeah, and I think that's a part of what keeps me around and makes working with me such a valuable experience is because I don't just talk the talk. I've also walked the walk as well too. And so even when I'm working with clients, I can share like certain like insights and certain stories and certain experiences that I've been through to even just normalize some of the things that people experience and to know that, yes, you're not feeling that great now about your career path, but letting them know that it's a journey and you will get there. And I am an example of like how you can get there as well too. So I will always advocate and push for my clients to walk through this journey as well too because it is so worthwhile. It's so worth it, and it's something where yeah, you just need to place that intentionality towards the journey, and I definitely show that in my life as well too.
There is an authentic presence I can feel from you, which I think comes from, like you said, being in alignment with what you're doing. So, whatever
Mhm.
you're doing, I can feel it. It feels authentic, it feels good. Thank you.
Yeah.
And something I'm interested in is that you are very consistent on LinkedIn. You have a newsletter, a successful newsletter, and I'm curious to know if I guess this success, because I qualify it as success at least, comes from being disciplined. And I wonder if you have other examples in your life of what discipline has created for you in your career or even in your personal life.
Yeah, I think that's such a great question. Discipline and consistency are like one of the most underrated characteristics that anybody can have, right? I think, there's like a quote that says, the moment you start to give up is like usually the moment when you are about to have that breakthrough. So I have that running through my mind all the time, right? So, in terms of like the consistency piece, so I can definitely use, LinkedIn as an example, right? So, I've always sort of been vocal on LinkedIn, even when I've been working for organizations. Sometimes it has gotten me into trouble, but that's okay. But as an entrepreneur as well, you can't remain the best kept secret. You're not going to get business that way, right? And so, having the consistency, so for example, I post from Monday to Friday, 7:15, 5 days a week, right? And so it's not that I am up at 7:15 like posting, like typing and posting my content. I actually, sit down for like 2 to 3 hours every week, once a week, and I come up with my content and I schedule all my content consistently, even when I am not feeling it, even when I'm not feeling it, even when I'm not feeling it. And I think that is also important, right? Sometimes you can't just go by your motivation levels because your motivation levels are like this, right? If I went by my motivation levels, you wouldn't see as much content as I put out today on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn by far, and I would say this for anybody in their career, it allows you to attract a lot of opportunities. And so that's why I'm on there. I constantly, because of the posts that I put out there, I'm constantly attracting new clients into my business. I've gotten to do like amazing workshops because of my consistency and my posts on LinkedIn. And I've got to connect with some amazing folks and collaborate with some amazing folks on LinkedIn as well too. And so going back to the consistency of it, if I wasn't consistent, I wouldn't have that visibility that I have today. And so that's like one of the examples. The other example is, I am really serious about like my wellness goals as well too. So I have a consistency in my routine. And so I do fitness classes, 3 to 4 times a week. And I feel the results. I feel the results daily. And when I miss them, I also feel the results, right? So that consistency piece is really, really important. So, if anything, even when folks are thinking about their career, your job searching, being consistent. Or thinking about, and again, job searching again, being consistent with like networking and reaching out to people because those will land the opportunities that you're looking for. You just have to sometimes get out of your comfort zone to be able to do the thing that you really want to do. So the consistency is something that is highly underrated but yields big results.
I think it's a reminder that we all need. And I want to repeat something I loved that you said.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, you can't remain the best kept secrets. That's why it's
That's right.
important to promote yourself and get out there consistently so people just see your name and what you do and keep that in mind.
And especially as a woman where we're kind of taught to play small, don't play small. You're a big person. Like you need to play big. So you have to just put yourself out there. And this again, this is something again I model for my clients. I want you to put yourself out there. I want you to connect with other people. I say this phrase all the time, shoot your shot. You never know what's going to happen, right? Just shoot your shot, see what happens. That big role that you're thinking about applying where you're like, I don't have enough experience, shoot your shot. Right? So just put yourself out there and just see what happens because it will yield some great results and some unexpected results as well, too.
You mentioned some of your wellness habits, and one of the goals I have with this podcast and this interview is to learn more about the behind the scenes of entrepreneurship for women, how balancing maybe family life with staying sane and feeling good throughout the entrepreneurship journey. So, after 6 years of business, I wonder if you built maybe for yourself non negotiables in your business or in your schedule. And if yes, what are they?
Yes, so definitely non-negotiables are chunking my time. So I'm a mom of two amazing boys. And for me, this is why I also created the lifestyle that I do as an entrepreneur is because my kids are still young and I want to be able to show up for them and I want to be able to, pick them up after school and drop them off and do all the things because they're only little for so long. And so, what I do as a non-negotiable in my business is I chunk out my time of work. So for me, I work chunks in the morning when they're at school, and then sometimes in the evenings I work as well too. So that's how I balance my working time. And then in between, I make sure, especially on the weekends as well, I make sure I have at least an hour to do like a workout and prepping for the week ahead as well too is something that's really really important. So for me, I really curate my life in terms of the way I want to live and feel like I have room to be creative and that I'm not working all the time. I'm not working, like 10, 12 hours a day. Of course, there are times and there's windows, like for example, if I'm preparing for like a workshop or if I'm applying for a funding proposal or something like that, that requires a little bit more of my time, a little bit more of my energy. But for the most part, I work in a way that is sustainable for myself and sustainable for my family, and that's how I feel the balance and that's how I feel energized to be able to come with my 100% when I'm working with any client or any organization. So those are some of my non-negotiables. I'm curious to hear if you have any.
Wow, I mean, I'm learning a lot from you and this conversation. So, I guess to answer your question, I have a follow up question because I'm at the stage where I created the intention of my schedule and now I'm putting it in place. So, for example, I currently release 2 podcast episodes a week. And I noticed that I spent most of my week editing and creating promotional assets for these episodes. And I know I need time to think and strategize to grow my podcast as well. I can't just be in the business. So one of my intention is to being able to edit 1 podcast episode and create the promotional assets in 1 day. So 2 days a week instead of 4 days a week. So that's my intention, but now I'm working towards it. And
Yeah.
my follow-up question for yourself is from the moment you had an idea of what you wanted your week to look like, how long did it take to actually be able to implement that?
Yeah, that is such a great question. And definitely, as a behind the scenes thing, I didn't start to go full time into my business until like literally a year ago. Right. So, very much for me, for I don't know, I'd say about like 4 years, I was juggling full time work with the business, with parenting, with keeping my health and wellness up to date. And so, for me, kind of going back to that conversation around intentionality, once I fully committed to going full time in my business, that was when I was able to shift into, being able to curate my schedule in a way that made sense for me. Because honestly, it's not sustainable to do so many things at once, especially if you're in a full-time capacity. And sometimes there's a time and a place and a season and a reason as well too. But for me, the years of building led to me being able to curate this life for myself. So, really kind of just going back to that thought of businesses don't just happen overnight. It is really much a journey. It's very much a process and it comes in stages as well too, right? As you imagine, something like a startup, right? You require a lot of energy and resources and supports to start up a business. And at the same time, you can also do it in a way that's a bit more sustainable, but that will also take a bit longer. So sometimes it's a little bit of a trade off at the same time. One of the things that I'm also learning right now to do is starting to delegate some of those tasks that aren't in my zone of genius. Right. And so, something like, you kind of talked about like designing like the promo. That's something that I'm also looking into to like outsource because for me, that will take me hours to be able to do. Whereas an expert, if I was able to pay them, they'd be able to do that so quickly because that's what they do. So, a little bit of insights as well there for yourself, when you sort of get to that certain level to sometimes start to delegate certain tasks and or let go of certain things that, you might want to do if it's not in a sustainable way. Because I think as a business owner, we come with like so many different ideas at a time. We want to do them all at once, but it's also about prioritizing the seasons for some of those things that we want to get done. But I've been there as well too. I always want to do 10 things at once, but I have to like rein it in a little bit because it's not sustainable. So it's constantly working to keep that balance at the same time. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, otherwise we cut sleeping time short, and
We
then
don't want
it
to do that.
affects everything else. Yeah. But it's interesting you talk about delegating. I'm curious if you're already delegating. And of course, I'm talking about marketing and maybe accounting, but also it can be cleaning or grocery deliveries. I want to know everything. What are you delegating today?
Yeah, I think for now I'm just starting with some of the design pieces. I'm working on something coming up very soon that I'll be announcing very soon as well too. So it's working with more people who are able to do some of like the design work that I need. Something like branding, I've delegated that as well too. And so I'm starting with some of those like design elements that I need to just really just quickly get done, quickly get off my plate. So I'm starting there. I would love to eventually outsource cleaning. That is my least favorite task. I'm not there yet, but I would love to outsource that piece. But yeah, I would say anything that helps me to achieve some of my business goals a bit faster. Those are some of the areas I'm thinking about.
Okay, I love that. I feel I got so many insights already from our conversation. And now it's time to move to the spin the wheel of life segments of this episode. Okay. The category for our first question is finances. If you could give your younger self one piece of financial advice, what would it be?
It would be invest. Invest a lot sooner. Speak with an expert, like a financial advisor that can help you sort out your finances and help you invest. So that would be the advice. Invest so you can have your money make money for you.
Okay. And do you have a practice around investing right now?
I think that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I have a financial person that helps me invest where I need to invest because like finances is not my strength. I'm not a financial coach. And so that's what the experts are there for to help you make more money because the more money that you can make, the more you can invest in yourself and the more you can also invest in helping others grow as well too. That's how I view it.
Okay. If you could give your younger self one piece of financial advice, what would it be? I guess to invest in yourself. So investing in portfolios, of course, index funds. But I know it took me a few years to understand what investing in yourself means. And it's something I've started doing more recently. So investing in courses or coaching, and it definitely multiplied my growth by 10. But I'm okay with it. I've learned it later. But yes, that's the advice I will give my younger self.
I love that advice. I also say to invest in yourself because that is how you get the growth, right? So certain people like to, invest in like like their clothes and like leisure stuff. I say try to invest as much in like yourself and your growth because like you said, it will multiply tenfold. It will help you grow, and then it will also help you make more money at the same time as well too. So I love that. Invest in yourself.
I'm glad you agree with
I
that. That's
do.
perfect. I will
Yeah.
spin the wheel one more time.
Okay.
For our second question, we have relationships. When do you feel the most supported by your relationships?
I think really in a place where I can just be myself. Honestly, when I can just be myself, show up as my authentic self. There's no judgment, there's only love and support, and, folks really wanting the best for me. So being able to just show up as myself helps me feel the most supported.
It's so good. I don't know what I'm going to answer next. I
You
just
can steal my
resonate.
answer, Julia. You can steal
Okay,
my answer.
okay. Yes, yes. I would just maybe specify it more with an example, which sometimes all I need is to be by myself and to recharge. I feel supported when I can just be in a corner by myself and people around understand that it's nothing against them, it's just me recharging. And then I can come back available again for everybody else.
You're an introvert, aren't you?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
I'm an introvert as well too. I love my quiet time and my space to just be. Yeah.
Yes, I resonate with this. Absolutely. I think we have time for one more spin.
Okay, let's do it.
We never had time as a category yet, so I don't know when it will happen, but I look forward to it. Today we have emotions and meaning for our last question. How do you personally process or move through tough emotions?
One, with a good therapist, of course, because sometimes you just need to process things and get a outsider objective perspective. Two, I like to journal my thoughts and just be really in a reflective space. And then three, trying to ascribe some meaning towards, why I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing and really just having some deep insights into that as well too. So those three areas helps me the most.
That sounds very grounding. I think it's
Yeah.
a really good practice to do. Yeah. For myself, how do I process tough emotions? I think I just, yeah, it's similar. I don't think I have a process yet. Maybe I go for a walk. It's something I
Hmm.
stopped doing these past few days, but eventually getting back to my routine and having that time where I work out or I go on a
Yeah.
walk with a podcast or just with nature, it's when I kind of
Hmm.
reset.
Yeah, I always love a good walk with nature. I'm a water sign, so I like to walk anywhere where there's like water and hearing like the waves come in. It's just so
Oh,
soothing and grounding. It's the
so
best.
peaceful. Yeah, I
Yeah.
relate. I relate to this. I need that too. I think I'm a water sign too. I'm a bit behind all the astrological and
Yeah.
things like that, but I feel I remember someone telling me I'm a water
You're a
sign.
water sign. Yeah, that means you just like the presence of water and just it's grounding for especially for water signs as well.
Okay,
So I
if I'm
yeah, look it
wrong,
up.
yeah, I have to look it up. I feel I'm saying maybe something wrong, but I'll check for sure. Well, thank you for playing the game of Spin the Wheel of Life game.
Yeah, that was fun.
Uh, Cool, perfect. I'm glad you had a good time. I'm curious to learn more about, in a few minutes, if you could share with us your four-part framework that you use, because I feel that our audience members will be very curious about this.
So I work with people through what's called the clear career framework. And so really helping people get clear in their career. So this C stands for starting to clarify your needs. So how I work with people on this domain is we really engage in an in-depth conversation to really understand their career, their needs, what are they coming into the program with. For example, sometimes people come into my program with various levels of burnout. They might have a bit of anxiety. They might be also depressed at the same same time. And so really kind of just assessing their needs and just getting clear on, how they're coming into the program. The next sort of phase of my program is called lifestyle and value alignment. And so this is all about exploring what's important to folks. So we go through exercises of understanding their core values, right? Because I often say to folks, what's important to you has to be mapped out into your career pathway. If there's a bit of a misalignment between what's important to you and what you're getting, then you're going to be unhappy, unfulfilled. So we go through a process of really understanding, helping people to understand their values. We also do some personality testing as well in there, and we go through a process to really start to identify what does your ideal career really look like? What are some of the attributes, and really getting people to be intentional there. The next sort of phase of my program is around career exploration and alignment. And so we go through a phase of exploring different career pathways and we do some visioning work there. It's really important to do the visioning work because I do say to folks that you have to be able to see the vision to then achieve the vision, right? And so that's why we kind of place a moment in time to really visualize what that next step, what that next phase of their life looks like. And then we map over to the last part of the framework, which is really around action planning and redesign. And so, there, based on the career exploration activities and the career pathways that folks want to explore, there we start to engage in what's called like human design type work. And so, I have some really targeted activities to help to test whether or not the career you think you want is the actual career you need right now at this point in time. So, I have some really great curated activities to help folks work through that process. And then once folks make that distinct career decision, that's when we map it all out together. So if you want to get into this career pathway, let's work backwards from there. What are the steps that you need to take to get into that career pathway? And so that is my clear career framework, and it is a really defined process and it's a really intuitive process to work through. And like I said, it places that intentionality towards taking the next steps in people's career.
I agree. It sounds very defined, and I can visualize exactly how each step will lead to an outcome where you feel aligned and
Yep.
fulfilled in this new career. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Where can our audience, listeners, can reach out to you and if they want to learn more?
Yeah, for sure. So if you're not already following me on LinkedIn, you can go ahead and do that. Just kind of type in my name, Jodi Tingling, into the search bar and just give me a follow. I'm on there from Monday to Friday posting content, and you can definitely reach out and engage with me there. I also have, of course, my website. So that's creatingnewsteps.com, where you can kind of check out what I do. Other than that, I also have a mini career clarity assessment that you can take for free if you're kind of feeling like, I'm not really sure if I need a change in my career, I'm not really sure the next steps I need to take in my career. Take the career clarity assessment because that will also help you. And then, if you're also thinking about other next steps in your career as well, I do also have a master class, and that's called Elevating Your Career Without Overthinking It. So, and that's all accessible on my LinkedIn page as well. You can kind of go ahead and take a scroll and sign up for any of those two things I just mentioned.
This is fantastic. Thank you for sharing all these resources. I will share them on the website goodinmotion.ca so everybody can find them easily. And Jodi, thank you so much for this conversation. I had a lot of insights I want to apply myself, so thank you.
No problem. And thank you for inviting me to this podcast. It was so much fun doing this podcast with you.